Hey everybody, Dr. Diane, your Libido Doc here, talking today about differences in sexual desire and how to handle this if one partner wants sex and wants intimacy more than the other. So the first thing I tend to advise people to do is to get back on the same team. And by this, what I mean is most of the time in long-term relationships, some of the core fundamental things around wanting to connect, wanting to feel loved, wanting to feel appreciated by this person, wanting to have stress release, right? There's some core things that typically both partners will feel. And so one of the things I find when there's desire mismatch that can be really helpful is going back to saying with both partners and asking, what does sex and what does intimacy provide? And you might have slightly different lists, and maybe you even have very, very majorly different lists. But most of the time I find when this question's asked, both people actually wind up wanting the same thing. So when we have this conversation, we can then say, okay, well, if the desire is for connection and one partner is really feeling that, oh, sex is bringing that and bringing that closeness, and the other person's like, well, sex is not doing that for me. Then we can think about, well, what are other creative ways that we can still get that connection that may be sensual or sexual? And so maybe this is like, okay, well, in order to have connection, we do deep breathing together, or we stare into each other's eyes, or we practice sensual touch, or we do sensual massage, or maybe we co-masturbate, right? There's so many different ways that this can be done that don't involve sex. And so sometimes we are creative in saying like, oh, I actually want to connect 3 times a week with my partner, for example. Then if both people are interested in that, then we can say, okay, well, what ways can we do that are sometimes involving sex and maybe sometimes not? And so there can be these creative ways like this where we can kind of go back to the same team to say, oh, fundamentally, oftentimes we're wanting very, very similar things, but maybe just have different ways of going about them. So if we can get back on the same page with the fundamentals around wanting the same thing, sometimes we can get closer to that than we thought. The other thing to say here is, if one person really doesn't have a lot of desire, then it's important to explore why that might be. Could there be hormonal irregulations? Could there be circulatory irregulations? Could one person just feel so stressed and overwhelmed they just have nothing left to give? So sometimes that desire mismatch is nothing more than just being honest and truthful and transparent with each other that this is happening, and then really looking to say, well, where did that desire go? Right? So I hope this has been helpful. Please post any comments or questions. It does help me figure out what stuff to curate for you guys. Please do subscribe so I can continue to pop this information in your inbox, and I will see you guys real soon.